Hello there, BookTube. My name is Daniel. Welcome back to my channel, Guilty Feet. If I only could, I would make a deal with God and get him to swap our places, but I've got no rhythm. I've read probably about 40 books since we last spoke, and maybe I'll talk about them at some point. I also met a Nobel Prize winner for literature and this year's Pulitzer Prize winner, and I have some footage of that, and I'll put that up at some point. But today I'm going to talk about a cheeky book haul that I did. I had about 13 books in total. I've got 9 of them here, but I'll talk about the other ones and why they're not here. This was all books that have cost me, that I'm being refunded for, because my company is fun like that. We get an allowance every year for wellness and fitness and things like that. So they give us an amount of money. It's around about $300 a year for like gym membership, or weights for your home, or it's like, they're always looking out for you. I work for a giant, a very well-known multinational corporation, and this is one of the perks, and it's an enormous privilege. I apologize if that's offensive to anybody, but I got a notification that I hadn't spent any of it, because believe it or not, this was not built in a gym, and I had like 4 days to spend $300 on fitness and wellness and things. So I bought myself a pair of shoes for walking, ostensibly, and then I didn't know what else I was going to spend the money on. I scrolled down the list of things that I'm allowed to claim back this allowance for, and right down at the bottom was books. So bought 13 books and had them shipped to me from Amazon in America, because they now have free shipping over a certain amount, but not every book qualifies. So it's this weird arrangement. So you have to spend over $49 in order to qualify for the free shipping, but not everything on sale at Amazon.com qualifies for this. Not everything will ship to Israel for free. So as well as looking for books, I also had to make sure did it qualify or not. Otherwise, the shipping would have been prohibitively expensive, like double the price for each book. So these are the books that I bought. So I've got 9 here, and there's 4 missing. One of them I've already lent to my brother. That was The Lincoln Highway by Amor Towles, which I sort of caved and decided that I would pick up. And nice big hardbacks, like 500-600 pages. So I figured that I wasn't going to read it straight away. My brother was here. I said, "Why don't you take it?" And he's happy to read that. And the 3 other books that I don't have here were all pre-releases, because as long as I spent the money, it didn't matter the fact the books aren't actually out yet. So I've already paid for, and we'll get delivered the new Mohsin Hamid, the new Ian McEwan. And coming in November only is the first of the 2 Cormac McCarthy books. So it's exciting, because I've paid for it. Amazon will ship it to me when it's released, and that'll be nice to have a brand new release. And the rest of these, some of these are new releases, some of these are older books, but they were books that I was interested in that qualified for free shipping to Israel. Okay, starting off with, I've actually read this first one. So 2 of these came in on Friday, the rest came in yesterday, was Sunday. Today's Monday, and I'll put this up probably Tuesday. So the first of these is Maggie Nelson's Blitz, I think. I read the Argonauts before and wanted to read more Maggie Nelson, but my financial model for purchasing books doesn't really support these kind of very slim volumes. This is poetry. I don't know. I think on the back it's they've filed it under essay literature, so it's essays. It's actually 240, I believe. Yeah, 240 very short paragraphs. I think it's kind of prose poetry, but this whole thing comes under 99 pages. So I read this in one sitting, an hour and a half, and knew this would cost $16. So I think I got it. Amazon's price would be, say, $14. There's not a big discount on new paperbacks, even though this has been out since 2007, I believe. But given that I was not paying for it, I decided I would splash out for it, and I read this over Shabbat and just loved it. If you've never encountered Argonauts, so I started with the Argonauts, which comes after this. This predates that, and the Argonauts, I loved it, and was just a mind-expanding piece of work, which I would recommend to everybody. This is just an equally bizarre, just entering into a mind unlike my own, and therefore deeply satisfying to be to be with someone who thinks about things so brilliantly and with such precision in ways that I can't. My mind doesn't work in those ways. Moving as well in some ways, and I don't think I'm doing a great job of explaining it, but I believe Fraser Simons has done a review of this, or at least he showed up in my Goodreads. I think he has a video. I'll go find the video and link to that, because I'm sure he says much smarter things about it than I do. But I'm pleased that I was able to come back to Maggie Nelson And this will inspire me to go back and read more of her work. And there's, I think, a devastating collection about a cousin of hers who died or was killed, and other stuff that I want to read. But Blitz by Maggie Nelson is unlike anything else. If you're more into the world of modern poetry, maybe this is not so far, but this is unlike other stuff that I read, and was wonderful, uplifting, and spectacular, and tremendous. Blitz by Maggie Nelson. So that's the one I've read, and the rest of these are all going to be read this summer. So next up on the list is also an old book, and this is Maud Martha by Gwendolyn Brook. So I believe it's the first black woman to win, maybe the first black person to win a Pulitzer Prize, certainly the first black woman, for poetry, and this is the only novel she wrote. And this is about 50 years ago and was never published in the UK. So the reason it's on my radar is because I think it's been published for the first time in the UK by Faber and Faber, and then Andy Miller on the Backlisted podcast was talking about it and recommending it. So I picked up, and this is the American edition, which I think has been pretty much in print for the last 50 years. I'd love to know, American people watching this, if you're familiar with Gwendolyn Brooks, and if you're familiar with this novel. He sold it to me and made me very interested in reading it, and I will let you know. I shall get this shortly, probably. Again, very short, 150 pages, but it's one of these printings where they only fill up at like 2/3 of any page, so it should be a very brisk read. Looking forward to that. Maud Martha by Gwendolyn Brooks. I also have here Aftermath by Preti Taneja. I'm going to butcher pretty much everyone's names, and that's on me and not on these authors who I brought into the library. This is a non-fiction work. I believe she's written a novel. She's taught fiction writing in prison, and the reason I bring that up is that's connected to what this story is, which is a true story about a man who had been in a creative fiction writing class while in prison, and then many years later, when he's released from prison, commits some kind of atrocity, which I believe is a true story, which I was not familiar with, and the last from 2019, and I didn't know the story. And this is dealing with that, and dealing with, I guess, the responsibility of art and what happens, and race, I think, is very much at the heart of this as well. And I certainly got time for this, like 200 odd pages of essays on that. So looking forward to that. And I think this also might have been a recommendation from Andy Miller at Backlisted, but Aftermath by Preti Taneja. Then this is, I had to spend all this money in a short space of time, so I was looking at all the best books of 2022 so far, books of the summer. I was looking at all these lists and picking out titles, and then cross-checking at Amazon to see if they would qualify for free shipping. So this caught my eye. I think published just now in June, and I like to dip in and read non-fiction occasionally. This is called Virology by Joseph Osmondson. Essays for the living, the dead, and the small things in between. And it was talking about types of coronavirus, specifically COVID-19. I think this is the era, so it's addressing what we've all been going through, and then also parallels with other viruses, so also talking about HIV. So the whole thing sort of appealed to me. I'm not quite sure that I knew what I was getting, because when I look at it, it seems to be much more autobiographical than, say, than the kind of popular science books that I'm interested in. He's the real deal. I mean, Joseph Osmondson is a professor of microbiology at NYU. His work's been published in leading biological journals. So it's not a layman's work of popular science. He's actually a professor, but the clue. The first blurb says as follows: Virology is a brilliant book, both playful and serious, showing us all how viruses live with us as we live with them. Drawing on queer theory, Joseph Osmondson offers a way of understanding care in the midst of anguish and anxiety, as well as desire and hope. And that's by Judith Butler. So that's the first blurb by the Queen of Gender Studies, and placing this very this work of science very clearly in the world of as part of a queer identity. So even though I'd read that the HIV thing was part of it, and talking about viruses and the coronavirus and HIV, I think this is going to be very much more queer oriented than I thought when I was buying it, and I'm totally here for it. So I'm really excited to see where this goes and what this means, because I probably don't read very much queer non-fiction, And so looking forward to seeing what this has to offer. Virology by Joseph Osmondson. Then I picked up, this is continuing my recent week run of buying books that are published by Fitzgerald in the UK in non-Fitzgerald editions, which is a shame because I love the Fitzgerald editions. I've got over here a copy of, so I bought the Netanyahu's American edition. Love that, I'll talk about that. I also bought the books of Jacob, which I haven't read to yet, also the non-Fitzgerald edition. And this is Cold Enough for Snow by Jessica Au. I'm really sorry, just utter ignorance. And this is 99 pages. She's from Melbourne, Australia. And it's probably was interested to pick this up because I knew Fitzgerald had published it. Is that a weird thing that it's such a fine imprint that even knowing that it's the kind of book that will be published by Fitzgerald in the UK, sparked the desire in me to pick it up, even in a non-Fitzgerald edition, because they don't sell the Fitzgerald editions from Amazon.com. So 99 pages, a short novel about a mother and daughter in Japan. Is that what's going on? Traveling from abroad to Tokyo. Okay. I'm up for this. I'll let you know how that goes. What else I got? Check Out 19 by Claire Louise Bennett. Loved. Going back to Fitzgerald again, her first collection of short stories called Pond. I have the Fitzgerald edition, which I loved. I don't think this was published by Fitzgerald in the UK. This is the American hardback. I said after reading that I would read more by her. I might have waited and picked this up in paperback, but I had money to burn, so to speak, and so I bought Check Out 19 by Claire Louise Bennett. And here is why I am down to read stuff by Claire Louise Bennett. There are three authors quoted on the back of this giving blurbs, and they are Karl Ove Knausgaard, Claire Vay Watkins, and Roddy Doyle. Now, if I didn't know who this author was, but knew that Karl Ove Knausgaard, Claire Vay Watkins, and Roddy Doyle were the people had been chosen, that she had chosen, who knows why people get to blurb books, that would make me want to read this book, because that is a very interesting crossover of authors that I have encountered to varying degrees. I read the whole of the Min Camp, the 6th volume, My Struggle, by Knausgaard. I've read a whole bunch of Roddy Doyle. I read Claire Vay Watkins' first collection, but I haven't read further, but I want to read that. I Love You, But I've Chosen Darkness, which is a great title, and I will maybe pick that up at some point. Anyway, novel by Claire Louise Bennett. Really looking forward to that. Check Out 19. Then file this under, I needed things that looked interesting that qualified for the free shipping, and I bought Joan is Okay, new novel by Wei Qi Wang. I didn't read chemistry, so this would be my first Wei Qi Wang book, it's a very, very low stakes pickup. So it's a modern novel under 210 pages. And say very easy for me to rip through this in an afternoon and decide whether this is an author for me or not an author for me. And looking forward to that. Joan is Okay by Wei Qi Wang. In addition, I also picked up, this has been out for a year or roughly, People Love Dead Jews by Dara Horn. I don't know Dara Horn personally, but I checked on Facebook and we have a couple of friends in common. And she's a very brilliant American writer. She was on Granter's Best of Young American Novelists at some point, and she's taught at Harvard and all those things, so it's not even remotely similar. But being Jews of a similar age with who like, I won't compare myself with her at all. It's not inconceivable that we would have crossed paths at some point. As I say, just a couple of Facebook friends in common, one of whom is a cousin of mine, I think, but not a cousin that I haven't met, but we're connected on Facebook. Anyway, really interested in this. Having read last year David Baddiel's Jews Don't Count, which was a very UK-centric version of this proposition. I think this is something similar coming from a different angle. I'm not saying she's inspired by that at all. I think this is coming out roughly the same time. We were writing it certainly at the same time, but probably these two are in conversation with each other. I believe Dara Horn and David Baddiel have actually been in conversation with each other. I think so. I think they did a joint event somewhere. Anyway, this kind of idea, just to give you the sense of some of these chapter titles here. There's a whole thing on everyone's second favorite dead Jew. There's a chapter called Dead American Jews, Executed Jews, Fictional Dead Jews, Legends of Dead Jews, and this idea that the Holocaust looms in people's minds as where Jews were martyred and murdered, but in the real world, people not so fond of Jews who are still alive. So that juxtaposition of the horror of recent memory and the ongoing struggles of explicit and implicit anti-Semitism. And that should be an interesting read. So I'll let you know how that goes. People Love Dead Jews by Dara Horn. And then the last one I have here, despite me running away from millennial fiction, I've gone, it's sunk even deeper. You get into that bog and you have to slowly pull yourself up. The more you struggle, the deeper you sink in. That's where I've gone here. Nightcrawling by Leela Motley with the Oprah's Book Club right there on the cover. The beautiful garish orange cover. The author photo here I think is super fierce. Love that. And my understanding is that Ms. Motley was like 17 when she wrote this. So this is younger. This is a book by someone born in the 21st century. Flipping Ada. But, always happy. This has had a lot of talk around it. Thought I'd pick it up and see what it's like because that's what I do. And there's no reason why I shouldn't enjoy this unless it becomes very irritating. I mean, she's on an uphill struggle by brightness when she was 17. That's already super irritating. But I come to it with an open mind, looking forward to this. Should be fun unless it isn't. I'll let you know, Nightcrawling by Leela Motley. And that is my book haul for now. I will at some point review this big pile of books I've got here. But till then, bye. Thanks.